So I got a couple questions here. Texted me and messaged me about hackling techniques, and actually about a month ago I was giving a presentation for a Trout Unlimited chapter, and I had that question about how do I tie my hackle and how do I wind hackle to prevent trapped hackles. And I thought I'd do a quick video on how I do it and how I've done it for years. A lot of times when folks tie in their hackle, they tie it laying back along the hook shank, and then they bring the hackle up to start to wind, and it actually does weaken the rachis or weaken the hackle stem, because you're creating a bend in that hackle stem. So ideally it'd be great to put that hackle in position straight up and down to a 90-degree angle to the hook shank to prevent that. Another thing that I do is I strip one side of the hackle off. In other words, if you don't do that, what you end up doing when you wind the hackle, you're actually winding over top of hackle on the back side. So I strip one side of the hackle off, the side that I'll be winding against the hook shank. That way you're not trapping hackle. The next thing I do is, how do I tie that hackle in to get it in position to start that wind straight up and down at a 90-degree angle? You can basically do it in half a dozen wraps. First thing you want to do is you want to lay the rachis down along the hook shank. Take one turn over top, okay, and then the next turn behind it. Now you can let that long, okay. You can, tie it midway down the rachis or down the hackle stem. Usually that's what I do. And then what I do is I just grab the bottom of it and I pull that hackle into position to where I want it, to where I'm going to start my wind, like so. It's a little bit too long, somewhere around there. And then, now that I have that X formed over top of the hackle stem, it's already in position. I want to take just one or two or three wraps behind it, and then bring it up over top, left to right again, over top of the hackle stem, and anchor it in place right behind the hook eye, like so. Now you're in position and it's anchored in place. You can trim that off. So now that hackle stem is at a 90-degree angle to the hook shank, and it's ready to wrap on the back side. The hackle stem is going to be wrapped against the hook shank, and you're not wrapping over top of hackle. And from there on, it's just simple winding the hackle onto the hook shank with one wrap in front of the other. And I'll try to do this because I'm not in close to the fly, because I'm reaching around the camera and the tripod right now. So, and folks, the quality of the hackle that they have now, you really don't need to make a whole lot of wraps to float that fly. This hackle nowadays is pretty amazing. It's pretty stiff. And then to finish it off, as you bring your final wrap up, follow it with your thread, as you can see I'm doing here, and then anchor it off right behind the hook eye, as I did here. Trim it off. Maybe a couple, and there you go. You don't have any trapped hackles. You have a couple sticking out there in front. I can't quite see because I'm away from it, but no real trapped hackle to the rear and none to the front, and you're good to go. Hope this helps you out with your hackling and tying it in and your winding, and tight lines to you all.